Andrew, good to see you.
Good
Thanks
to
for
see you,
making a
Paul.
bit of time to come and have a chat. I always appreciate that because I know people like you are pretty busy. Let me start off with something that you said to me when we last spoke, which sort of stuck in my mind because it was a really interesting statement. You said to me, "My business starts with probate." Which is sort of saying my business starts with somebody dying. I thought, well, that's both. In one sense, it's a horrifying thing, but it's also a really interesting thing because you've obviously got a different sort of business model to the ones that most people would talk about. So tell us about that idea that your business starts with probate and how have you built that business model? Let me just talk us through that.
Yeah, so I don't know if it would make sense, Paul, and you kind of tell me. I think I should explain what I had prior to making that statement, and then that will
Yeah, do
lead
that.
into
Yeah.
why such a harsh, maybe kind of statement makes sense to people listening. So I started a real estate team 13 years ago.
Right.
And I'm gonna flash forward really quickly, but I learned a lot over 11 years running and operating that team. And I've spun off four different initiatives and companies because of what I learned there to help other people. The last two are education and learning vehicles of mine. And what I meant when my business starts with probate is anyone who works with me typically will either number one come on my podcast that I have that I told
Yep.
you about. It's a real
Yep.
estate podcast called the Team Lead Talks podcast. But number two, they everyone in real estate wants and needs leads. And in my company, when running my sales team, our top three producing lead sources for as long as I can remember were pay-per-click Google ads, joint venture, and probates. So I happen to have a PPC company as well, where I run ads for investors and
Mm.
wholesalers in the United States, but it's very expensive. PPC is like the big leagues. You have to have the allocated resources to afford it, and it's
Yes.
not for everyone. So people kept asking me, well, PPC sounds great, Paul, but what else can, like, I need leads. Do you have anything else that might be able to, like, for a newbie or a novice kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
approach? And I said, well, we did really well with probates. Why don't I put together a probate course and teach probates? Flash forward 3 months ago, I created the probate engineers. So that is the way that, and why I said that statement is because people come to me to help them find what we call day one probates directly from the courthouse and turn that into an entire lead gen machine in their business model. Not non-dependent on what their exit strategy is. So whether they wholesale it, flip it, or list it as an agent, everyone kind of comes into my world. The majority do, I should say, through that probate engineers course. And then it's a natural ascension to say, oh, I want to talk to you about PPC. Or I also have a software that runs team operations, like a CRM operating system called Billions. And they say, hey, I'm getting all these probate leads. Like, how do I organize this? Let me show you Billions. So that's where that statement ultimately came
Okay.
from.
Okay. So let's just take one step back then to the business that you're building. I mean, just talk us through. I mean, it's such an interesting place to start from.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're trying to achieve. I mean, just give us a flavor of where you're going with all this
With
stuff.
the probate stuff or just in
Well,
general?
the business more generally, the billions, the sort of system really was the thing that was in my mind, but how the whole thing fits together, I think.
Yeah, I think naturally, Paul, it's just an ascension value ladder, if you will. I help teams and investors all across America kind of get organized around their business model, whether they're investors, whether they're agents, whether they're hybrid of both, right? So as I kind of progress with Billions, saying, hey, Paul, if you have a real estate team and you don't want to have to go figure out the technology and get a CRM and then get a data and analytics software and then get a dialer and then get this and then get that and piece it all together, Billions is perfect for you. Let me show it to you. It's already comes pre-built. But then from there, I'm not sure of the environment over where you are, but in America right now, um, interest rates are still kind of high for mortgages. Inventory is still kind of low, although it's kind of kicking back, and we're getting back into like the good life in the real estate world, but still very difficult. So naturally, when I speak with people about the Billions model, the operating system software, they're like, how did you like come up with it? It looks like you ran a team, did you? And I'd say, yeah, like I have 11 years running a team experience. They're like, oh, well, can you help with lead gen? Can you help with this? Can you help with that? So it just kind of naturally, like I didn't set out to do everything that we're currently doing, but it was just a natural progression to say, oh, well, if you're going to help me with billions, can you help me with PPC? So I started Brighter PPC. And a lot of our Brighter customers are on billions and billions are on Brighter as an example. But then the people that couldn't afford PPC, they needed something. And I said, well, why don't I just put together this probate course? So it just naturally kind of happened like a lot of business owners. Like they start off going one way and then because of conversations and feedback they wind up going a few different ways, but luckily for me it all comes so naturally because I lived it for 11 years
Yeah. Yeah.
and I can talk to it really well and I can I'm an OCD kind of person, so organization is big for me. So I've put together all these different companies in a very organized, calibrated, specific manner.
But what you're saying to me, and tell me if I've understood this correctly. What you're saying is that what you do is help real estate companies
Yes.
to grow. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, I think it is a fair summary. We just have tools
Yeah.
from someone that's been doing it for over a decade. It's the same as hiring a real estate coach, Paul. Like, I didn't hire a coach for the first year, 2 years of my company, and I thought I could do everything myself. And we were doing okay. But the second I hired a coach, I expedited that learning curve tremendously and went from 0 to 100 from year 2 to 3, like that. And that would have probably taken me 5 or 6 years if I had done it on my own. For the services that we provide, it's kind of the same thing. Like I'm new, I'm struggling, I'm trying to figure this out. Oh, you've been there, done that, you figured it out. How do you do it? Well, here's how you do it right here. And that's the services we provide. Everything is an attempt to expedite a learning curve for whoever that, whoever we're working with, whether it's figure out probate stuff, figure out tech stack for a team, or get PPC rocking and rolling so they can have some inbound leads.
Yeah. But the other thing that's really interesting about what you're doing, I mean, I've not seen anything like that happening in the UK. I mean, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I've not come
Right.
across it. So I think, or tell me again, tell me if I've got this wrong. I mean, I think what you're doing is quite a different approach to helping people build real estate business. I mean, is that fair? I mean, are you kind of is part of what you're trying to do is challenge the status quo about how these things work?
I mean, some people might argue I'm trying to do too much, but we've
Right.
created this like ecosystem where
Yeah.
if you need leads, we can help. If you need the systems to run it, we can help. If you need this professional lead gen system and PPC and you have the budget that you can allocate towards it, we can help. All, Paul, to get them to go from, hey, I'm struggling to, hey, I actually have this rocking and rolling, it's optimized. And now I can start to focus on ownership level stuff versus in the weeds administrative type
Yeah.
of stuff. So we, in essence, at a higher level overview of what I try to help people with is get them out of the operator mindset into a true owner mindset, where instead of saying, hey, I have to do this task and that task and that task, automate it, leverage other people. Here's how you do it. And then you can focus on data and analytics in real time to see what's working. Most importantly, Paul, what's not working in terms of lead sources and in people on your team. So you are a true visionary owner at that time once you have everything kind of built up and fully optimized with what we can help people with.
I mean, the kind of the cliche in the UK is sort of working on the business rather than working in the business, which
We have
sounds
the same thing here. Yeah, I try to teach people as best I can with the stuff and tools that I can give them to work on it rather than in it. Because you're never going to be able to grow and scale if you're constantly still doing transactions, putting out fires, and helping with the entire team.
yeah. So let's just explore that for a second because that comes up a lot. And a lot of people, particularly new entrepreneurs, they don't really get the thing about working on the business rather than in the business. Now, I'm not sure that
Right.
phrase is as helpful as it could be actually, but let's just explore why does that have an impact? I mean, in your experience, why does it help to stand back, to take time out, to stand back and think about where you're going with the business rather than be tangled up in the weeds? I mean, why does that? I mean, we all know, well, I think most experienced entrepreneurs that I speak to know that that process of standing back and reflecting
Yeah.
works. But in your experience, why does that have an impact in your industry?
I mean, I think it's huge because if you're not going to work on the business, you're just forever going to be rushing to get transaction close, right? And it's going to be chaotic all the time. And that's what leads to burnout. So for us, it was always like, well, and I mentioned this to you in like our conversation we had a few weeks back, but I'm very OCD and I'm very systems and processes oriented. Before I got into real estate, I worked nuclear weapons issues, human capital type of it, personnel issues for the United States Air Force at the Pentagon. And it was all checklists, systems,
Yeah,
same
yeah,
thing, same way over and over and over again. And my natural OCD-ness and coupled with that role that I did for 7 years, worked really well in terms of, hey, I know if I start my own business, this is how I want to run and operate. And it's not just for me, but it's for any team member that comes after me, right? Not having to say, hey, Paul, you're going to come in position for this, agent. Here's 50 million things you got to do, and let me train you one off. Oh, now the Nancy just came, and I have to train her all over again and figure out what I'm going to do. I want to be able to do that once, make it once. And this is kind of where owners have to work in the
yeah,
business, at least enough, Paul, to explain or systematize it for the person coming behind me that I'm going to use to leverage for whatever role or task. So you got to be able to talk to it, right? And know the little nuances. And you do that by working in the business, which is fine. But then if you want to transition to this growth and scale model, and I'll also say one thing, Paul, this isn't for everyone, right? Some people don't have the
yeah.
vision to build a big team and they just want to do 5 transactions chaotically. I don't know why, but that's to each his own, right? I simply am like, if you have a team and you're sort of struggling or you have ambitions to join a team, here's how you do that. And it's super simple. Make boring, repetitive, repeatable processes and make it so there's one way to do it and one way only. So no matter what position that I hire you for, Paul, I say, hey, Paul, you're coming in the marketing department. Here's a marketing department library of playbooks or SOPs. This is what you're going to be doing. Bring yourself up to speed. Call me if you have any questions. But everything we do in the marketing department is right here in this workspace on Google Docs. It's all there. That's your job right there.
And
And I have
sorry, what you're talking about are using essentially, I know it's a bit more complicated than this, but at the heart of that is a checklist that covers everything that needs to be done and in the order it needs to be done. I mean, I understood that correctly.
No, that's a very good summary of it. But in our playbooks, a playbook is an SOP, standard operating procedure. We call them playbooks. So we have the blank playbook, the social media playbook, the sales playbook, the listing presentation playbook, the adding a new user to Billions playbook, whatever it is, right? I'll step back 1 second and say we also have in our culture, anytime we think we're doing something new for the first time, the first question I try to get everyone to come to mind with is, do we have a playbook for this? If not, Paul, get a playbook, the blank, fill in the blank playbook, and then start putting shit down there, right? So start writing everything you know about that. But we have a very systematized, we even have a playbook for building playbooks, Paul. And then we
Okay.
have the blank playbook template that we clone, fill in the name, and then we put it in. Our playbook library is essentially just our org chart. We have marketing, sales, product, G&A, that kind of stuff. So it's very well organized. But we will go in and say, I'll come up with a posting to social media playbook. We have a few things that we do. Number one, we record a video while talking to audio saying, hey, I'm about to go do this. Here's what you do. And we talk through it because you can't pick up on little nuances if it's just screenshots, right? So we have 3 videos that we shoot. So people can watch them and hopefully they're not like 2 hour long videos. Hopefully it's, a short video. But you pick up on nuances as if I was telling you in person how to post on social media. And then we also have step by step. We use 2 tools for this, Loom and Scribe. And we simultaneously turn them on. And as I'm doing it and I'm clicking, Scribe is taking screenshots. So we have a PDF of all the screenshots and we can put instruction. Then we have a high level log in, do this, do that, do this. So there's video with me talking through it or whoever. There's screenshots so you can see it visually. And then there's a high level checklist. But at the end, it's the audit checklist that we refer to. It's, hey, Paul, now that you've done it, did you Did you make sure to do this? Did you share it with that? And you're literally supposed to be able to check it off. So, Paul, guess what happens when I say, "Hey, Paul, did you post that, that Chief Uncensored podcast to our YouTube?" And you're like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, well, bring up the playbook. Go down to the bottom, and there's four things on the ultimate checklist. If you did not do one of these four things, it means something went wrong. Did you do one? Yes. Did you do two? Yes. Did you do three? Yes. Did you do four? No, I didn't. Cool. I just found out what the problem was by being able to go directly to a codified, written out checklist and says, why didn't you do number four? Well, the instructions were kind of weird. I didn't quite understand them. Okay, this is a live document. Let's just go fix it right now. Okay, does this make sense? Cool. Go do
But
four.
I mean,
And
I get.
you're auditing in a non-chaotic way. It's not what you felt like doing, it's did you do this, and this.
I mean, and I get that. I mean, I've worked in organizations that are thorough like that, but a lot of organizations aren't, particularly startups and early stage businesses. I mean, they might be growing quite significantly, but they're still not necessarily as systematic as that.
Right.
Just explain for people that aren't familiar with that world, why does that make such a difference? The process you've described makes absolute sense to me, but a lot of people
Yeah.
think, God, that sounds like an awful lot of work. Is that really necessary? I mean, just explain why it works.
It works because you do it once and then it lives forever as a living document and anyone can reference it. I'm going to quote my one of my coaches that I had, Dan Martell, on this. Getting someone to do something 80% of the way is 100% awesome. If it does not take my time to have to sit down with you, Paul, and literally go through all the 25 things you're going to be doing in the marketing department. So if you have something written down, it saves my time to, guess what, Paul? Continue working on the business rather than in the business. So, and one thing that I do a lot, you can maybe see from my background, but I love reading. I love continuous education and I love listening to other people's podcasts. And I follow other people's CEO accounts online. And I started to think as I tried to get super organized around systems and processes. Like, how do these other people do it? And I would watch these interviews or read an article or read a book, and there was a common theme. And it said, we systematized everything so it wasn't chaotic. And it was like, what's the one thing CEO of a Fortune 100 company that helped? And it was like systems. So it wasn't like my discretion or my emotion. It was like, what does the system tell us? And if you're going to bring in more people and try to grow and scale, it's much easier to say, hey, plug and play into this. We can get into like the right person, right seat. That's a whole nother conversation. But if you finally go through the interview process and the hiring process and get that right person in the right seat, then say, here's the library of everything you're going to be doing. Oh, by the way, if you ever do something new for the first time, here's how we do it and how we handle it. So you're free to add as many playbooks as you want. Because then, if that person gets promoted to director of marketing and needs to hire, guess what? They don't have to spend weeks. Oh, shoot, Paul's coming in 2 weeks. I got to get everything right. It's just there. It's easy. It's simple.
And the other thing I think that you're sort of alluding to, which you haven't actually said directly, but I think is really important, is that you can't really improve a process until you've documented it. You have to have it written down before you can stand back and say, oh, actually, this little bit here, we could improve that by doing X, Y, or Z or whatever.
Exactly.
But the process of documenting it is kind of the starting point for improving it, which is what you want to keep doing, isn't it?
Step one. So I would argue there's a ground zero step where it's like you have to get into the mindset of documenting this stuff and buy into the vision of the importance of it. If you don't believe in the importance of it, it's never going to work. But if you want to ultimately be an owner and work on the business and have time to do so, I've yet to find anyone with a workaround or a shortcut to that instead of documenting. So absolutely. But the goal here at the end of the day, it's a living document. So version control is never an issue. If Facebook changes stuff all the time, right?
Mm.
So you can go in and one thing I forgot to mention is each playbook has an owner and a last updated date. So if there is a change to be made, you find that owner and say, hey, Facebook actually changed where you do X, Y, and Z. Can I update the playbook? Cool. Now everyone has it. And the idea there is let's talk about setting appointments, right? Inside of Billions. Scenario one, Andrew and Paul are both appointment setters. When I set an appointment, I do 15 different things. When you set an appointment, you do 11. Now everything is askew. Our data is not, getting collected the right way each and every time. And then can you even trust the data that comes out on the back end? Scenario number two, in Billions, when you set an appointment, Paul, click the appointment form, fill in the fields, the who, what, when, where, and hit save. Everything gets updated for you. How much easier is that?
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, what would you rather audit? Number one, where you're like, Andrew, how did you set this appointment? You're like, well, I did this, I moved
Yeah.
that, I
Yeah.
did, or I just filled in this thing.
Yeah. So let me ask you about something you said a few minutes ago. You said that some people might criticize you for doing too much. Is that, I mean, and this is I mean, I'm interested to explore this idea. Are you able to do such a lot to run multiple businesses because you systematize everything? Is that the way that you make that work?
Honestly, that was the way I made it work, Paul.
Right.
So I took my playbooks from my real estate team and I started Billions and I plugged it in to the framework with an outline and I started filling in the blanks. When I started Brighter, I copied and pasted into a Brighter workspace. I have a team workspace, a Billions workspace, a Brighter workspace, a probate engineers workspace, a team lead talks workspace. I literally just took the exact framework model, plugged it in, and said, let's get to work. This is how we are going to do things. And one thing to get us off of the bat really quickly with the playbooks, for example, Paul, was they come up as they come up, right? So I need to do something for the first time culturally, and I'm programmed to say, do we have a playbook? No. I hit up my VA in Slack and say, make the blank playbook for probate engineers, give it to me, start putting it in. Alternatively, also, I already knew what we would have to be doing. So every Saturday, I would just create one playbook every Saturday. One. And then for 52 weeks for Billions Brighter, I'm only 3 months into, or 2 months into probate engineers, so I haven't hit this timeline yet. But for Billions and Brighter, every Saturday, I'd say, what's another playbook that we haven't touched on that I know we need? And I wrote it down, and I would do one every single Saturday morning. And then we had a bunch of playbooks in Brighter.
Yeah.
And then as they came up, we added to them. But having it available in a live doc is also something if you have playbooks or SOPs today, if anyone's listening, I highly recommend you make them all live documents because you can have version control inside of Google Workspace. But if I send you an old, outdated social media playbook as a PDF and then Mandy on the team has been updating it for the last 6 months, guess what's going to happen? Chaos is going to
I mean,
ensue. And then
I'm like you. I'm a huge fan of standard operating procedures. I mean, it really, I think it really makes sense. The other question that I wanted to ask though is, I mean, it's enabled you to do a lot more because it builds your capacity to do things quickly, doesn't it? Essentially,
yeah,
but it also opens the door. I mean, the big thing everywhere at the moment is the role that AI could play in this. I mean,
yeah,
having a set of standard operating procedures is the kind of one of the building blocks of building an AI enabled system, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
what's your thinking about that? Is that happening within your business at the moment? Are you using that as the base to introduce AI? Let me just talk us through that.
Yeah, AI is the shiny object right now,
Yeah.
especially in real estate. I'll say this. I categorize AI into two buckets, if you will. Number one, to help with administrative tasks, content creation, stuff like that. Internal processes. Like if I had AI, if I had an idea and I needed AI to help me, it would help with my blank page syndrome to come up with content material for the probate engineer, something like that, right? So there's that I'm all for. I love it. It's so super easy. I use ChatGPT. I use Manus. I use Claude all the time to help with that. And inside of Billions, we do like AI call summaries, for example, with, hey, you just talked to Paul. Here's the 5 things you said. Oh, by the way, you owe him a PDF on blank, right? So
Yeah.
it summarizes that kind of stuff. The AI that I'm not quite comfortable with right now, but a lot of people are pushing, are conversational AI bots, text messaging and having bot conversations in Facebook messages or text messages or
Mm.
phone calls, which is crazy.
And
Like,
let me ask you, why are you uncomfortable with that? Because everyone else is going. I mean, what is it that bothers you about it?
There's a couple things. So it's garbage in, garbage out, number one.
Mm.
You have to train these models. Just like
Yeah.
now I'm super into GPTs. Like ChatGPT was cool, but you're getting everyone. So I created specific GPTs for all of my company too. So I controlled the data in. Because if someone else put data that I was not aware of, it's garbage out, right? So that is a tremendous time suck sometimes, Paul. You have to train these models and train them really, really well. The other thing is it's not quite, I guess there's three things. That's the one thing. Garbage in, garbage out. You have to train it and be comfortable enough to know what they're saying. Number two is in our government, I don't know how this is for where you guys are, but once upon a time, you could mass text message people, Paul, and I could send 50,000 cold texts a day and I'd get tons of lead and it was awesome. But then the government said, hey, wait a second, we're going to put penalties on this. So if you can't prove that Paul opted in to get your text message, Andrew, for each message that you sent him, that's a $1,500, $1,500 fine.
Wow.
So it could bankrupt people, and people still do it. I talk to people all the time. They're like, I mass text blast. I'm like, oh my God, you're crazy. But that's another conversation. So I think the to kind of bring that idea full circle, eventually the US government, when they start to really hone in on consumer protection, they are going to make it so you have to disclaimer that you're talking to an AI agent instead of a human. And how impersonal is that in real estate? That's as impersonal as it comes. And I know people from Facebook, they're like, I just fired my entire VA and ISA department because I got Nancy AI, who's going to have all my conversations, and I got 45 appointments overnight because she never sleeps. And then the government's going to say, at some point, I don't have a crystal ball, but I know this is going to probably be coming. And it's going to say, hey, you can't do that anymore unless you say this. And then I'm going to call as a prospect and say, hey, Paul, I need your services. You're talking to Bonnie, the AI robot. Let me help you. What do you need help with? And they're going to be like, click. So I think there are three industries that this is going to be a little iffy in. Real estate being one, lawyers or attorneys being the other, and medical. How impersonal can you get? And how lazy can some people get to say, "Hey, I'm just going to have a 24/7 365 robot talk to these people." And I don't think that's how you get like we're now circling back to the real estate is a person to person relationship industry. And those who are going to go all AI right out the door quickly are going to suffer, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's a fair question to ask is how will you use AI to enhance the human connection rather than replace it? I mean, have you got thoughts on that?
I mean, I think AI is better use to coming out with when you're actually working with people for marketing purposes to better market a quicker way for their properties or whatever it is they hired you to do, right? That's the when the rubber hits the ground. But they don't want to call you on a cell phone and talk to your AI robot
Yeah.
and be like, man, can I just get through to Andrew? Like all I want to do is ask him a question. And I'm like stuck in this endless cycle of like the robot giving me a calendar to then get it's just so impersonal. So the again, internally, I think AI is amazing and I use it all day every day to come up with a bunch of stuff in a matter of seconds versus a matter of days or hours or weeks or whatever the project is. So I'm all for it that way. The the connection with prospects who don't know you yet, though, I think that's going to wind up hurting more people than it's going to.
I just don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
I don't think that kind of, computer to human
Yeah,
thing.
for a lot of different reasons, but mainly I think the government maybe one day will say you have to tell people if it's a robot or not. And I don't know, like I'm not the smartest person, but when I call the cable company or Tesla or whoever, I can tell I'm like, give me a representative. I just want to talk to a
Yeah.
person, like for the love of God. So I already don't like it, let alone I don't want to have to be in a position where I'm like, man, I'm being pre-foreclosed on, Paul. Like I just need someone to help me. Oh, welcome to Andrew Real Estate Group. Like, how can we help you? I need help talking to someone. Well, let me get a couple of information. I'm like, man, can I just speak with someone? I think
Yeah.
that's going to be a big mistake that a lot of people are going to do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, actually. Let me ask you a couple of, I'd like to focus on something slightly different. Also, one of the things that interests me is the way CEOs approach the process of building a business. I mean, I know you're building multiple businesses,
Yeah.
but I mean, it seems to me that one of the challenges is that There are a billion things you could do. And the one of the most important jobs is to work out, well, I'm not going to do all those other things. I'm going to do this.
Right.
So that process of sort of separating out the signal from the noise, if you like, the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
What's your take on how you figure out what to focus your time on? Because the one non-renewable resource is time. Once it's
Right.
gone, it's gone. I mean, money, you can make money, you can lose money, you can get money back. Time is really the most precious thing. How do you work out where you're going to devote your time and energy? How do you separate out
Yeah.
the
It's super easy, Paul. I do what I like and enjoy doing, and everything else I either get rid of or I leverage it out for somebody else to do. Super simple answer for me.
So you just focus on stuff you enjoy. I mean, one of the problems I have, for example, is that there's things that I enjoy that are not going to have any impact on my business. I mean, what's your take on that kind of angle? I mean, I get your point about focusing on stuff that you enjoy,
Yeah.
because you're more likely to be good at it.
Yes.
But what if you enjoy lots of stuff that is not relevant?
Well, as a business owner, my job is revenue, right?
Mm,
And bringing in capital so we can make more investments and hire more people. So if you ask me like to make a list of all the stuff that I do, mostly I'm having conversations with people like you, like in the industry, saying, "Hey, I made a post on Facebook the other day or last night actually, and I got like 40 people reaching out to me in DM saying, "Hey, I saw you posted about probate. Like, can you help me?" That's where I love focusing on. Number one, first and foremost, I want to bring value doing the stuff that I love. And I love talking about, if you can't tell, systems and processes and lead gen kind of stuff in real estate. And it comes natural to me because I lived it and I breathed it for such a long time. So I absolutely enjoy that. If the opposite was true, I wouldn't want to be doing it. If I didn't like it, if I couldn't talk to it, I'd feel like a fake and a fraud, quite honestly.
yeah.
So I stick to my lane and I'm like, man, I do this really well, but first and foremost, I need to get this lead gen funnel filled. So how do I do that? So I do the stuff that I know I need to do. I might not like commenting on Facebook posts, but I do. I like thankfully enough, I do like it. And maybe one day I'll hire someone to do it, but I'm gonna lose that intimacy and my nuance of like what's in my brain around whatever the question is. Like, hey, how do I get a new lead source? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna provide so much value to this person. And then secondary, tertiary effects are maybe I got more people into the probate engineers program. That's cool. But I helped that person figure out probates because they've been struggling. So I've kind of shifted from, okay, now that I've ran a team and I learned a bunch of stuff, what did I enjoy? I enjoyed building billions and having a tech stack for teams. I enjoy doing PPC for people. And now probate and team lead talks, podcasts, just having fluid, normal, not forced conversations. Oh, by the way, if it leads to revenue, great. If it doesn't, but I at least help that person, they might come back to me down the line. So that's like where I am at in my life and my career right now. I just want to provide massive amounts of value. And if they happen to buy billions and buy brighter and buy probate engineers, that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah. I mean, the other interesting things about what you're saying, I mean, I think there is a tremendous amount of value to be had from talking to people. And I'm not saying talking at people, but asking questions. I mean,
Yeah,
it never ceases to amaze me the things that people will tell you if you ask them pretty straightforward questions, really. And,
yeah,
and it's extraordinary. I come across people that don't want to make the effort to engage people over the phone or via email, or
yeah.
those are all opportunities to learn about your market, to learn about what your customers want, what your clients are thinking, and so on. And it seems to me what you're saying is that that's a really important role for CEOs to play, isn't it? Is to
Yeah,
understand.
you have to know what's happening on the
Yes.
ground with your customers and get feedback. And we hear feedback all the time for probate engineers. Hey, it'd be nice if you did what not to do, right? My first cohort that went through were like, hey, we actually just need to know like the lessons learned from you. So I made a 45 things not to do in probate. And I made that list. So, but I would have never known that if I wasn't paying attention to it. But ultimately, Paul, like I've done with the sales team, what I'm doing with Billions and Brighter is I'm not going to be working on those things forever
Mm,
in it. I'll leverage other amazing team members that I find, and then I can start working on it to do other stuff. So when I was talking with people about PPC and some couldn't afford it, I could have just there's an opportunity cost there, right?
mm,
I could have said, oh, I'm so sorry, like, good luck, and never spoke with them again. But then we came up with this probate engineers, lower level ticket item to get them in the door. Now, all the people that we had to say no to or didn't work out with PPC, maybe they're doing probates and now they're having a really good time
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
probates. They
yeah.
know, like, and trust me and my community. And then they lead with revenue and say, hey, man, I've been doing this for 6 months. I made 135K. Remember that PPC thing you talked to me about? I'm ready to do it. So it's going to be beneficial for everyone, and
I mean, I
having this
think, I
entire
think,
ecosystem helps.
yeah. I mean, I think that what was kind of behind my question is this idea that working on the business rather than working in the business is,
Yeah,
or it's about working on the business is about figuring out where to take the business.
yeah.
Working in the business is doing the immediate tasks that need doing. You can't work out where to take the business unless you're engaged with customers and
You're
clients.
putting out fires in
Yeah,
that latter scenario. In the
exactly.
former scenario, Paul,
Yeah,
another thing that I love, absolutely love doing is networking. And you never know, like, who you're going to put me in touch with that could change my life. Just one new relationship
yeah,
introduction. So of all the other stuff that I have going on, one of the biggest things is just like when I have someone on my Team Lead Talks podcast, I'm like, hey, Paul, this is a great episode. Like, can you introduce me to one person? And then I find out they have a program that probate engineers would be great for. So we do an affiliate launch to their audience and it brings them more people.
yeah.
So I'd like to share one thing with you that I think was really cool. And I like live by this motto now that I'm in different masterminds and we have private groups. And this lady was in there who's crazy successful, like 70 different lines of revenue, just absolutely amazing. And she said, those at the bottom compete, those at the top collaborate. And when I read that, it kind of changed my way of thinking. Like, instead of me competing with you, Paul, and your podcast, I want to have you on my podcast to talk about stuff. And then maybe someone will pick up
Mm.
from your audience on mine and mine vice versa on yours. So I'm always just trying to meet amazing people because guess what? That technically is working on the business.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how many relationships have I started in the last few months by taking that mindset and saying, being like, oh, he has another probate course. Like, I don't want to talk to him. I'm like, hey, dude, I have a probate course too. Let's see if we can collaborate somehow
Yeah.
and see if we can make something happen. So I shifted my mindset to I'm not really competing anymore. I'm going to start to see where I can collaborate if it makes sense
And
to me.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I mean, it's about mindset. It's not about the technical details. It's about the mindset involved in
Yeah.
this. I totally get that. Let me ask you about another thing that relates to the CEO role.
Yeah.
We're in an environment, particularly because of things like AI, but not just because of AI. I mean, geopolitics. I mean, there is an awful lot of uncertainty. And one of the other things that interests me about the role of the CEO is how you figure out how to move forward, given that there are so many moving parts.
Yeah.
That's perhaps not the best way to describe it, but I'm sure you get my point.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to move a business forward when there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, business people, always say we want certainty, we don't want
Yeah.
uncertainty. We've got uncertainty. It doesn't look like it's going to go away anywhere anytime soon. I mean, what's your take on how you move forward, given all the stuff that's kind of going on, that it's very difficult to predict? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. I think just by the sheer fact that I am in real estate, Paul, it's always been uncertainty for us.
Yeah.
It's always been ups, downs, ebbs, flows. So I'm almost kind of like used to it. I don't know if that's a good answer for you, but what we've tried to do is maintain that optimistic mindset of like, we'll get through it. And we stick to our guns and listen to our gut around what's happening. But as we did get better and better on the sales team, for example, we relentlessly started tracking data and analytics to not only have a gut feeling, but have a scientific, data-driven decision-making capability. So we would track people, how much I'm paying you versus how much you're bringing in or not bringing in, and then lead sources as well. In real estate, it's just a numbers game at the end of the day. How many outbound calls, how many outbound mailers to set an appointment, to close a deal? Out of the deal close, what's the average revenue, gross and net? What are your costs of goods sold? Once you understand that and build it into a system, like a Billions will spit this out for you. You don't even update any reporting, as an example. I'm seeing in real time what is working, and I'm able to predict based on last year's data or last quarter's data if something is about to happen. But it allows me to not just react emotionally. I'm just a very logical, like, hey, last year we closed 145 deals up to this point. Now we're at 130. What the hell is happening? Let's go
Yeah.
back and
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
to look. But I'm not reacting to anything. I'm proactively being told all of this through Billions. It literally emails me every night at 8. Well, when I was in the sales team, it would email me every night at 8 p.m. certain reports that I needed to see that were leading or lagging indicators on, okay, are we about to have a bad month or a good month or a bad quarter or a good quarter?
Yeah.
So that's the level of I don't have a crystal ball. Just like stockbrokers, like they don't know what's going up or down or left or right, but they look at data. So we look at data in terms of our real estate happenings, like what we are doing to try to get business, instead of reacting at the end of the year saying, "Oh my God, I thought X, Y, and Z lead source was good. We closed 14 deals, but now that I actually peeled back the onion, we made $1,200. Like what was that for?"
Yeah.
So now we're like, okay, we closed all this stuff, but what we're actually returning, let's see it. And it's not like Andrew thinks that lead source is better than Paul. It's here are the numbers. These are facts
I
for
mean,
lead sources and people.
I think what you're saying to me, what I'm hearing is that having good data enables you to be more proactive, and it reinforces or not your gut. So it enables you to tell whether your gut's right, I think.
Well, you're looking for trends, Paul.
Yeah.
So being able to have your data and analytics update in real time is first, like if you don't have that, figure that out. And then you're seeing like I got stuff emailed to me every night, and it would be increasing by an increment of 5K every, like if it was a monetary number.
Yeah.
When I started to see it plateau or decrease, I knew I had to go deep dive into that. I wasn't going and looking, Paul. I was being told and I was understanding the trend and analytics automatically by simply looking at the same number day after day.
Yeah.
Like how many appointments did we set this week? 50. Cool. 50, 50, 50, 50, 12. The hell happened? Like why did we go drop? Or why did we increase from 50 to 200? I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have that data available.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as hell not going to find that and update that in a spreadsheet. So we automated all of this.
Yeah.
And this is what I try to take with all the companies.
Yeah. And I can
Trend
see why that's
analysis.
and I can see why that's valuable. I think other people can see why that's valuable because it enhances what you're able to do. Let me just ask you about your journey. I mean, you've obviously been on quite an interesting journey. I mean, when you look back on the journey that you've been on, I mean, what would you say what's the big thing that you've learned along the way, or what are the most important things that you've learned along the way?
My biggest thing now, Paul, is I only want people who are going to bring value to me and vice versa. I'm done with like the toxic relationship kind
Yeah.
of vibe here. Um, I just turned 40, so I don't know, maybe I had my midlife aha moment, but that's the biggest thing. Like I wasted so much time and effort with toxic people or just not the right people that fit for the type of person that I wanted to become or was becoming. So that's my big takeaway is like we hired people just to hire people when deep down I knew in my gut they weren't going to last or they weren't the right cultural fit for us. So if I started with that, and right now, here's kind of like my litmus test. If you call me Paul, I want to be like, hell yeah, Paul's calling me. I don't want to be like, God, Paul's calling me, like send a voicemail. I hope like what does he want? Like I'm done with that. So that's my answer to that question. Like work with your life is short. Work with people that are gonna make you better, get in the right rooms that are gonna bring your value up versus like, oh, I'm gonna hide stuff from Paul because we're competing. Like I'm done with that. I just want to collaborate. I want to have fun most importantly with fun people that are like-minded like me.
Yeah. I mean, it comes back to that thing about not wasting time, doesn't it?
Yeah. Wasted so much time. I mean, how many times did we sit in a team meeting with like 20, 30 people and then one person comes into the room? Everyone's laughing, having a good time. One person comes into the room and energy is sucked out of the room and they're so just pessimistic and everyone's like, that person's said something inappropriate or did made me feel weird or like I don't like being around. Like I'm done with that. So
Yeah.
now I'm like, if I don't like conversing with you and learning from you and being just around you, like I probably would have said no to being on this podcast. Like,
Yeah.
but
Well, I'm
we
glad
hit
you
it off.
didn't.
Yeah, because I like you and I had fun in our conversation. I was like, man, Paul is a good person. He's going to help people by having me on the podcast who could potentially pick up one thing that I'm saying to better their life or their world, right? The opposite is true when I talk to people. I'm like, man, Paul was like not my cup of tea. Like, no, thank you, but respectfully, like, no, thank you. I just don't want to waste time with that anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree with you about that. Let me ask you about, I mean, I'm always interested in this idea of the critical moment, the kind of the inflection point. I mean, when you look back on your journey as the CEO, have there been any kind of critical moments when you've kind of come to a fork in the road and had to decide, do I go this way or do I go that way? I mean, have you had any of those big moments along the way, and what impact did they have?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of it was trial and error, I'll say. And a lot of stuff that we tried to do might have failed. And then just naturally, I was like, I don't want to put any more time in there. But honestly, it goes back to that question you asked me before. I was like, what do I like and enjoy doing? And what am I good at? What can I talk to? What can I have a conversation with this random stranger about probates? And within 2 minutes, are they going to say, I know what the hell you're talking about, Andrew. You seem like an expert. Or are they going to be like, that guy just BS his way through that conversation? So instead of having like perception is huge in social media nowadays. I guarantee you, all these people, oh, I'm hopping and skipping to Bermuda and Caribbeans, and I'm an agent, but I work 1 hour a week. Give me your P&L. Let me see your profit margin. I guarantee you it's not as pretty as you're saying.
Yeah,
And I never wanted to be portrayed like that. I never want like a scandal to come out that says Andrew never did that. It's just like all fake and BS and like
yeah,
whatever. So I just naturally gravitated towards stuff that I liked, and it was systems and processes,
yeah,
PPC, probate, and
yeah,
a podcast. Like that's what I love and enjoy doing. Everything else I kind of said back burner. Like maybe if it comes back to me and it's fate one day, I'll consider it. But I enjoy what I'm doing now. I'm having fun doing it. And it just comes off natural to me, and I don't have to fake anything or
yeah.
pretend like I'm someone I'm not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And people forget that business is about systems. I mean,
Yeah.
successful businesses are always about systems. I mean, they're
Yeah.
different, but they're always about systems. Let me ask you one question about making mistakes. I mean, when I talk to CEOs, I mean, most of the time it's, oh God, I make mistakes all the time.
Oh
What's
yeah.
your kind of feeling about that experience of doing things right, sometimes doing things wrong, how quickly you learn from it? I mean, what's your sort of take on that?
I loved making mistakes, because that's how you really learn.
Mm,
So you can, like what we talked about with like coaches and programs and systems like with Billions, like expedite the learning curve or the product to just have it. You're still going to make mistakes. But I learned the most I think it's more important to learn what not to do the hard way
yeah,
than it is to be like, oh, systems and processes just makes everything easy breezy, and like running a company is not hard. What are all these people saying? And we got into a lot of stuff like early on, the first 5, 6 years, we were in lawsuits, we got scammed, we lost a lot of money.
yeah,
And then I'm like, man, how can okay, that happened, that sucked. How can I make sure it doesn't happen again? Okay, well, we can implement this, but how can I automate that? Okay, we can build that. Okay, cool. Hopefully that will never happen again. But then guess what, Paul? When I'm talking to you for the first time and you're like, man, I'm in this situation, I'm like, dude, I've been there. Like, here's how I got through. And then they're gonna be like, wow, that's a tremendous value. I'll tell you one story. We got we hired someone and we got a non-compete lawsuit filed against us. I had a coach at that time. I called him up and said, hey, we just got this lawsuit. He goes, what's it about? We said it's about blah blah blah. And he goes, awesome. And I was like, dude, did you hear what I just said? Like, we're getting sued. Like, what? And he was like, dude, this is awesome. Because guess what? Have you ever been in a lawsuit before? And I said, no, I'm really scared. And he said, now you're going to learn what it's like to go through a lawsuit.
yeah,
Buckle up. It's going to be great. Did you do anything wrong? No. Well, then cool. What do you have to worry about? And he said, you're going to learn how to get through a lawsuit. So if this happens again, you're not going to be scared the next time or the next time. Thankfully, we didn't get sued like much more than that. But you learn stuff. Everyone you talk to at the CEO level, they didn't go from zero to CEO. They probably like, did you just see Nike's new CEO? He started as an intern like 30 years ago.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then he went to this division and that division and Europe, Asia, America, Canada, like all over. Now he's CEO. And guess what? He's going to use his experience over 30 years to be like, oh, I saw this when I was in Europe at that factory. Here's how we solved it then. Let's go and do it. And you can't fake that. That's experience that you truly earn. And I love the bad part because it resonates with you and sticks with you a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, somebody said to me once, I can't remember who it was, somebody said to me that good judgment is the result of bad experience. And I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
You know, you have to understand about getting things wrong to really build judgments about what.
Well, and like what I said earlier, you're living in a fantasy world if you think running any company, whether it's real estate or an attorney, whatever you're doing out there, if that it's just always going to be perfect and you're always going to be lean and nothing's ever going to go wrong. If you think that way, then you're in for a whirlwind of disappointment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well,
And how can you become better? My dad always used to say, if you're not uncomfortable in what you're doing, you're not learning. So
yeah,
you need to go figure out something else or start to grow and expand that way. And that's always resonated with me as well. Because if I get too comfortable, then what I'm plateauing mentally, spiritually, from an educational standpoint. So that is also, I think, why I like to do other things. Um, I did sales for 11 years, didn't want to do sales for 40 years of my life, and now I'm doing education. It's brand new, it's exciting, and it kind of rejuvenates me.
yeah,
But oh, by the way, from what we just talked about, all the mistakes I made, I'm passing those along to my students and to everyone in my community as best as I can so that maybe a newbie can hear this conversation, Paul, and say, oh man, Andrew's been through that. Let me hit him up and see if he can help me.
yeah.
And maybe I can, maybe I can't. I don't know.
Let me ask you about that. See, as you brought it up, I mean, if you were to have, if you had to give one piece of good advice to a
Mhm.
rookie CEO, somebody at the start of a journey like yours, I mean, what would that one piece of advice be?
Try to find a CEO in your industry, or maybe not even in your industry, Paul, that is willing to take you under their wing as a mentor or some type of consultant and be like, hey, I'm I'm starting this real estate SaaS company, Andrew. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm the CEO. Like, I don't want to make mistakes. Can you help me? And if it works and I like them and I want to, and we jive and I feel like it's gonna be a win-win, then absolutely would help someone. But it's the same for like my comment about in the first 2 years, we were like, we don't need coaches. We can do it ourselves. And then it took us forever to figure out stuff, hired a coach, and our business went from 0 to 100 overnight. Same thing for newbie CEOs that are trying to figure it out. Talk to the whoever if you're replacing someone as a CEO, ask them to be your mentor for 1 year.
Yeah.
Ask for help. People have been there, done that in the CEO role. There's millions, I don't know, probably millions of CEOs out in the world. Find one and figure out a CEO Facebook group for crying out loud or a Reddit group
Yeah.
and say, hey, I'm taking over this role. Is anyone willing to grab coffee with me?
Yeah. I mean, I think you've made some really good advice. I mean, one of the things I love about business, particularly the sort of small and medium-sized businesses rather than the bigger businesses, but there is a real willingness of people to support each other.
Yeah.
And I think, to come back to your point about the people that are successful are the ones that collaborate rather than compete. I mean, I don't think that's totally true, but you certainly see in business compared to, say, the public sector or the third sector, you see a real willingness to support and help each other, which I think is one of the real strengths of the
Yeah.
business world, actually.
Paul, I'm not saying that that comment or that statement is necessarily true or false. I'm just saying find someone that believes
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that statement
I
and
get it.
connect with that person. So, like, dude, how many times have I called someone, hey man, I see you have this Facebook group. I have this going on. Can we collaborate? Dude, I don't have time for you. No thanks. Like, I'm like, cool. God was telling me that that just wasn't a relationship that was supposed to be in my life. Hey man, hey Paul, see you do this. Like, you want to collaborate? Hey Andrew, what's up, man? Like, yeah, I've been following you. You're awesome. Like, let's see what we can do together. That's the type of person I want to connect with nowadays in my life.
Yeah, and
People
that's
who are
very,
too busy are the mindset of like,
yeah,
I'm hiding everything from the world. I have the secret sauce. When in reality, the secret sauce is actually collaborating and networking and building friendships in this world, not hiding everything because you think you have some, proprietary thing going on.
yeah. And I think that's really good advice, Andrew. Thank you. And thank you for making time to come and have a chat. I mean, what an interesting story. Great, I mean, a great business model you've done. I mean, I think it's a really interesting area that you're in. And thank you for for sharing your thoughts about, the way that you're building multiple businesses at the same time. Because I know a lot of people think about that, but very few people are able to do it successfully. So thank you for making a bit of time to share that with us.
Yeah, Paul, I'm so grateful to have connected with you and thank you so much for having me on. Hopefully, someone listening can pick up one thing from this and, make their lives better.
Let's hope so. Good to see you, Andrew.
Good to see you, Paul.
Bye bye.
Bye.